It's been what, half a year since I've made a video, and I'm back with a video that probably will not reflect half a year's worth of information gathering and experience, but here I am anyways, making this video because I feel like I emotionally have to. I am repping my James Feeney merch that I got in the mail, Lemniscate Logic. I will link his channel in my down bar below if you guys haven't checked him out. He's just the nicest man alive. Anyways, the card that I've been working with is, can we get in there? Yeah, the Six of Pentacles, well-being in the Gil Tarot. And before I start anything, I want to read this little excerpt I wrote about Black Lives Matter and how I felt this card was just incredibly relevant. And just let's just see what I wrote, take from it what you need, and then we will keep going. So it says, I have been working with the Six of Pentacles for months and months and months now. And again, as always, I've barely scratched the surface. The Black Lives Matter movements across the United States and the world have really been opening up my mind to fundamental inequities in society and the cultures I live in, and what it really means to be giving and receiving, and how my ideas as a white man need to be challenged, rewritten, and recoded into my brain. For the first time, I am really interested in giving my time, my comfort, my money, and my status in society. I've been thinking about what it would take as a collective to give up the status quo, which is something Katie Flowers mentioned to me once about her interpretation of this card. Just, name drop. There is this implied inequality in this card sometimes, and reality shows that some people have more access to equal structures than others. So when I see this card now, I will in the back of my mind remember not only physical resources, but access to social capital and resources when one needs it. And for me, this will now be a call to action card, making sure I'm up to date on who I'm donating to, making sure I am donating, and making sure I'm investing more into a society I have complacently drawn out of for so long that systematically oppresses POCs. Call to action. This card makes itself very clear to me. It is not about my comfort on an individual level. It's about reparations, society, and the bigger picture. And that about sums up my thoughts on that when it comes to the Six of Pentacles. It is very important to me now to be paying reparations to Black Americans. It's very important to me to be making sure I'm putting my money where my mouth is on my beliefs, doing anti-racist work. And I feel like this card is very tied up into that. I feel like a lot of times for me, it's about like equal giving and taking. But sometimes, as I've learned, there's an element to this card where you need to be putting in more than you're taking out if you want to be doing work that's important to you. And that's just where my headspace is right now. So I did take some notes, and if I have successfully learned how to edit videos by now, highly unlikely, maybe you'll finally see some jump cuts instead of me just like staring at the screen. So my first thought I wanted to talk about with the Six of Pentacles is giving and taking love from God. I know, right? Very smooth, very easy transition. Right now, I'm in a very dualistic headspace. I'm really exploring God through the lens of Christianity, Judaism, monotheism, and idea of God transcendent, God without, God within, and meeting that in the middle. It says, I'm connecting to this idea of my own soul going up and meeting the source as it descends and meets me at the crossroads. The idea that connection between my spirit and source doesn't dissolve me, but it also does not keep me inherently separate. I'm floating in a concept somewhere in between. So originally this video was going to be about giving and receiving love from something infinite inside of a finite body. But the video kind of moved away from that, and I just found it too complex and nuanced. So what else did I write? I said, I thought the Six of Pentacles would be a great lens through which to explore giving and receiving in our relationships with God, Source, and divinity. I think a lot of what I'm going to say is very specific to me, obviously, but I'm really hoping that these ideas you can apply to your own life. One of my favorite interpretations for the Six of Pentacles that I've ever come across was from Olivia Pepper. She wrote the guidebook for the Little Monsters Tarot, and she wrote, the six comes in to remind and reinforce lessons about exactly how much we can give and also how much we keep for ourselves. I just thought that was a beautifully succinct lesson about. I like the way she uses the word reinforce lessons about how much we're giving and how much we're keeping. And that concept by itself is just enormous. So the very first thing, oh yeah, I always write this. The very first thing I wanted to talk about when I'm already on like the fifth topic, but it says time, giving, taking, receiving, time. Um, Giving my time to spiritual practice and what I'm expecting to receive from it. I have this feeling that when we receive understanding, intervention, or wisdom from the universe, it feels so much more valuable knowing that I put in time and effort and it paid off. There's more reverence for the gift that has been received. I'm learning that it's important for me to put in time, put in effort, and making sure on an inner level I have made the proper space to receive what has been given. And that, I feel like this card has shown me the most about, am I willing to put in time to see results? And the answer has been no. I have not been willing to put in the time to see results. So that is my life update. And yeah. And I guess a big part of why I wrote that was I've been sitting around waiting for spiritual results. And I finally come to a place where I'm not mad about it anymore. I'm just not ready to put in the work for what I'm really wanting right now. And I guess that's that. And just kind of, so like when I see this card, I'm gonna be like, okay, did you put in the work? Are you expecting something you haven't put in the work for? Don't be mad about it. Just, is that true or is it not? And yes, it's true. I haven't put in the work. So what else have I written? This kind of leads me into a nuance I'm sure we've all thought about that I'm verbalizing here just to contemplate with you guys about. And I'm reading these notes that I wrote a long time ago, so they might be incoherent. Do I expect to receive it from the universe? Do I feel entitled? That, and then in parentheses, I wrote, that word's full of baggage. Do I even feel the need to be giving? What exactly am I offering? Can I offer something to God that would warrant an exchange? Whew. So, oh wow. I'm like rereading my own notes, getting my own gears turning from today's Skylar as opposed to last month's Skylar. Essentially, I think what I was on about there was this feeling of I don't have anything worth giving to the universe, and kind of feeling too small and too separate and too philosophical about the whole thing. I felt there was a period of time there where I was feeling like, let's say I am putting all this work into spiritual practice and connecting and giving, I would just kind of I was starting to put my mindset on the other side of that. Like I was kind of imagining being God, the universe, and then seeing me. And I was understanding the possibility that I'm loved unconditionally and that the universe is like obsessed with me. But I was also considering the possibility that that wasn't the case, that there was not anything that I was offering up to the universe that was worth giving or receiving, or it's just like I was kind of, so when I was thinking about this card and when that was coming up for me, I was thinking, am I willing to give to a universe and connect with it and explore it when there's the possibility that it might not be giving back to me, I suppose, was like the bigger concept for that. So, oh yeah, it was humbling to my practice is essentially the note that I wrote there. I also found a cool quote from Mark Twain to sound smart for my viewers. It says, Mark Twain said, "Most of all, we want our beloved to love us in return." And when I did come across that while researching for this video, I felt it cut into me. I want God to love me as much as I love his concept, her concept. I want God to connect with me as much as I want to connect with the universe. And am I already connected? Are we all one? Is this all a simulation? Like, just these big questions that I felt like this card was. Am I holding it upside down like half the time? Like, where's God? So, I also found another quote from Mark Twain, and Mark Twain goes on to say that the irresistible desire to be irresistibly desired. So, most of all, we want our beloved to love us in return. Dot dot dot. There's an irresistible desire to be irresistibly desired. And I was thinking about my relation to that when it comes to God. I want God to want me. And this card is a reminder of that for me. Am I putting in work? It's not even about work. It's not even about effort. It's just, am I willing? Am I putting something out there that's worth taking? I think it's this big thing that I've been exploring. Bruce Bander, another quote that I found, again, to sound smart for my viewers, he says, he speaks of a need for love, where we reach out and take into our lives something that we've been searching for. And with God, at least, this is complex. I'm reaching out and I'm taking it in. Sorry, I was seeing if my roommates are getting home because I cannot film if they're here. I'm too embarrassed. They're not here. Blah 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 blah. Okay, this was something I felt very profound. We can gorge ourselves on the limitless expression of God in these finite bodies. My body has an unlimited capacity for pleasure and an unlimited capacity to absorb. But as with any body, it builds tolerance and even downloads of love. So the more that washes in, the more I find myself becoming tolerant of love. Now stick with me, it gets juicy. Much like how it takes me a few beers now instead of one to get drunk. And LOL. Upon realizing this, I think I've come to the conclusion that I was indeed interacting with a form of love, but not love, but in a pure form I can theorize about, but not fully put into words. Martin Luther describes an aspect of this deeper love I'm curious about, and he says, wishing from the heart what is good for another person. And the focus moves from me to a group. The focus moves from me to the universe. And those downloads, instead of coming straight to me, flow back out of me into the community around me. The sensation that pulls two parties together instead of something that pulls just one to another. This magnetic force, love. I was going through a spiritual period where I was just downloading all of this love, feel good juice from the universe, and I was literally starting to become tolerant of it. Instead of feeling like completely open to the limitlessness of the universe, I could feel like with a drug, I was becoming tolerant of it and I needed more and more and more. And when that started to happen, I was like, whoa, I don't think I'm on the right track. I feel like I'm definitely am connecting and interacting with something, but I don't think that it's it. I don't think that this is the purest form of what I should be doing. And so I thought that that was something interesting to think about and ponder. And just like, if you're needing more and more and more of something, are you on the right track? Would be a good succinct summary of another aspect of this card that I've explored. All right, another man with a quote. Cornelius Plantinga Jr. says, we have value to confer on others, and we've got freedom to decide on how much value to confer, when to do it, and to whom. This got me thinking about measured giving and receiving, those sensations, and how much am I measuring the love that I give? How much am I choosing to accept, and how much am I refusing? Cornelius talks about the metaphor of the infant being like an infant when receiving love of the universe. He says that babies, this is his quote, when offered a finger or nipple, their mouth instinctively opens. They are perfect receivers. Something about this resonated with me. These ideas of instinct and for a moment just being perfectly open to being dependent in a state of pure absorption. So something about that metaphor of the baby being a perfect receiver, and I was reading a bunch of stuff about Mary, the mother of Jesus, being the perfect receiver, right? Which is like its whole own other topic, and just, it's not even about receiving only feel-good, lovey-dovey emotions. It's just about being a perfect receiver of the universe and an antenna, and not picking what you download, not picking what the universe gives you, and not really honing in on something. I feel like that's when I started to build tolerance, is when I was choosing too much about what my path was. Um, let's see. Do my notes keep making sense? Because I am not capable of offering unlimited things, I sometimes have this sense of guilt. I think a lot of that is cultural and Western, and those ideas around worth, individual guilt, and even asking myself, what am I offering? Which I feel like I touched on earlier. But those ideas are a part of my cultural DNA, so I have to acknowledge them and I can't ignore them. I feel like what I was trying to say here was that capitalist mindset of producing. I need to be producing love, manufacturing it, putting it out there, and not even just love, just feelings of well being in general, feelings of giving, and just like this constant state of like generation and doing something and not having those passive moments, being the perfect receiver. Let's see. Oh, we're almost done, people. So I wrote, spiritual exchange has no concrete value, and I sometimes forget this because my Western brain is so accustomed to capitalist mindset. I was reading something recently about about the concept of ownership in the minds of children, and how we don't know when this nuanced idea of mine in relation to ego actually forms. We have some good ideas, but we don't know exactly how it happens, blah, 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 all that. Friends, so I remember I wrote this metaphor for it and I sent it to James and I had a good laugh about it. I said, for instance, if this is Bob's hot dog and it's always been Bob's hot dog, unless Bob leaves it somewhere and never returns, is it still Bob's hot dog? So like I was saying, like children, like at what point as a child, like let's say you look at someone named Bob and they're holding a hot dog, that's Bob's hot dog, but let's say Bob puts down the hot dog and walks away and never comes back, is it still Bob's hot dog? Right, that nuanced idea of ownership. And in this way I'm thinking of, am I in nuanced ownership of my body and my spirit? Parts of me that I'm willing to give, parts of me that I'm willing to take. What do I give freely? What do I take freely? Do I see my time and energy as free to give? So, well-being in Six of Pentacles was about body ownership too. Am I entitled to give? Am I entitled to receive? Do I own my body and my time? And just these big ideas of, do you feel not even in control, but is it your time to give? Is it your body to give? Is it your love to give? And in some aspects, it's taking ownership of what you're offering in your body. And my very last note, it says, these questions lead me to this whole new arena of understanding about the state of mind and understanding one has to be in when giving and receiving, and how subjective those states are in each individual and the cultural impact. The resources we give and take when taking God and spirituality are so abstract. Can any individual define them? The give and take with spirit identifies priorities, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I asked myself some really good questions here at the end. What do you aim at when in contemplation? Where are you hoping it goes? Wisdom, connection, success? Where's my compass really pointing? Do I like it? So asking myself those really important questions when it comes to, what am I giving and why? Where is my compass pointing me? What am I hoping to get? Just, and all that. But also like relating it back to the beginning of the video, it's so much easier for me as a cisgendered white man to take from a society, especially a society that's even colonized God, right? It's easier for me to take from this idea than it is for somebody else. And I'm really thinking about and pondering that concept and honestly, I'm feeling disillusioned by a lot of stuff right now. I'm feeling a little separate from spirituality and God, and not because of that specifically, but it's just, like sometimes it feels icky when you start to really look into like your space in relation to someone else's space and seeing what you have that you have no right having, especially when it's been like, especially like spiritually, right? Like all of the things that we've appropriated and colonized, and suddenly I just don't feel educated on anything. And not that I'm using that as any sort of excuse or anything, but I feel like I'm rewriting and recoding and just like really working with this card and making sure that I'm not pulling more resources than somebody else because of privilege, and making sure that I am putting some of those resources back into the system or back into society and doing anti-racist work. And I really hope that somebody else took a good message away from this card also. I hope this video was at all entertaining, useful, interesting. Um, and I hope to see you guys next video. Maybe it'll be half a year again, but I hope not. But I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you later. All right, guys, have a good night. Oh, and happy Father's Day, Taddies.